Today on our 2016 Toyota Tacoma, we're going to be taking a look at the best rear suspension upgrades available and helping you decide which is going to be the right one for your application. Now, the reason we typically look for rear suspension upgrades for the vehicle are going to be like if we want to haul a little bit of extra weight. We want something that's going to level our truck back out and make the hauling and stopping, things like that, much safer. Look at something like this. Or if you're more into the off-road side of it, where you like to spend a lot of time off-road, off-camber, things like that, we look for something that's going to absorb some of that shock and some of that impact so it's not so rough heading down the trail. And we've got three different types of upgrades available that we're going to be taking a look at. One's going to be more of a standard type Timbren kind of an application. This is going to be your more of a load leveling and towing style. We're also going to look at airbags. Now, airbags come from Airlift, and we also have kits from Firestone. These are more of a load leveling with increased ride comfort style setup. And then also from Timbren, we have an off-road style. Now, this helps slightly in the load leveling and things like that when you're hauling, but this is designed to absorb a lot of the impacts when you're taking those larger bumps and things like that off-road. Now, our standard Timbren system is going to mount right underneath the U-bolts for your axle. This is going to face upward, and it's going to make contact with the Jounce-Style on top of your frame. Now, depending on the height of your truck, you're going to have a little bit of a gap here. That way, as your truck starts to sag, it makes contact with the top of the spring, and it compresses. The more weight, the more compression, giving us additional support. Now, these work out really well for your towing applications, but when our frame makes contact with the top of that spring, you're probably going to feel it inside of the vehicle. Now, when we get to the air spring style setup, whether it's Airlift or Firestone, we're going to have upper and lower brackets to install. So the installation difficulty is going to go up just a little bit. We're also going to have to run air lines back to where we can get to them with an air hose. But this is actually going to be my preferred upgrade, the one I would definitely pick, because with the upper and lower attachment point, we create a connection from our axle to our frame. As we go down the road, even unloaded, this is going to take some of the shock and some of that jarring effect out of it, and it really makes for a smoother ride. This is also going to give us increased steering and turning performance even unloaded, because we're going to have a little bit of air in here, typically no less than 5 pounds of air in the bags at any time. That's going to help control some of the body roll. Now, the negative thing about air springs is you do have to maintain minimum pressure, so you'll have to check your airbags periodically and make sure that you've got at least 5 psi in them. Now, when we look at the off-road style application Timbren, this is going to be a taller piece, so the frame is going to be much closer, if not just barely touching the top of that spring. So as we get in those off-camber situations, the spring, as that axle is driven towards the frame, is going to absorb that, and it's going to take a lot of that heavy jarring and shifting effect that we typically get off-road off the table, and it's going to make for a much smoother and much more enjoyable ride. Now, these, just like the standard towing style, are progressive, so if we just put a little bit of weight on there, they're a little bit softer, but as we compress it further and further, we're going to get that increased stability. With this type of Timbren, we're not going to have that harsh engagement that we sometimes get with the standard Timbren. Now, let's sum up what we've talked about. When it comes to towing enhancement, you definitely want to go with the standard Timbren or an airbag setup. Now, when it comes to maintenance, the standard Timbren or the off-road Timbren, since you don't have to maintain a minimum air pressure, definitely take an advantage there. Now, when it comes to the ride quality of the vehicle, the airbags definitely help give us an improvement there. And for recreational use, when we're off-road, the Timbren off-road, certainly going to be a great choice. But don't forget about the airbags. They can do a lot of the same things that the Timbren off-road style can do, while still giving us the load leveling capabilities for towing. Now, if I were going to be choosing one of these kits to go on my vehicle, I would go with an airbag style setup. It's going to be more versatile, especially a Firestone airbag setup. The way they design their bags has a roll crimp that comes down, and even if we were in an off-road situation and we just happened to hang a front wheel up in the air a little bit, we wouldn't have to worry about separation. That makes, in my mind, an airbag setup a much more versatile style, so we can use it for off-road kind of applications and also towing, rather than selecting one or the other with a Timbren style. That's going to complete our look at the rear suspension enhancements available for the Toyota Tacoma. We hope this information is helpful in deciding which one's going to be the right for your application.
Thanks for watching. Click the link in our description below to shop, learn more, or visit us at etrailer.com. And leave us a comment if you have any questions.